All right, today we're doing something a little different. We are pulling back the curtain on a personal finance confession, a look at what one expert actually does with his own money. And you might be surprised to find out it's not always what the textbooks tell you to do. Let's dive in.
So let's just start with the big question that frames this entire story. When it comes to your money, are your decisions rational? Do they make perfect sense on a spreadsheet? Or are they reasonable, meaning they make sense for you, a real person living in the messy, unpredictable real world?
And this question really gets to the heart of what our source calls the mile-wide gap. It's this giant space between what financial theory says we should do and what actually feels right in our gut. It's the constant tug-of-war between the analyst in your head and the person who just wants to live their life. And that gap, that's where the most important financial decisions really happen.
To really understand the choices we're about to talk about, we first have to get what the author's main goal is. It wasn't about being the richest guy in the room or getting the highest possible returns. Nope. It was something way more personal. It was his North Star.
So, what is independence here? It's pretty simple, really. It's the ability to wake up every morning and know that you and your family can do whatever you want with your day, on your own terms. This isn't about fancy cars or big houses. It's about having control over your own time, your own life.
And hey, this isn't some new age idea. The legendary investor Charlie Munger said it perfectly. I did not intend to get rich, I just wanted to get independent. It just goes to show you that this pursuit of freedom, well, it's a powerful and timeless financial philosophy.
The author actually saw this play out with his own father. His dad spent decades working in the incredibly high-stress environment of an ER doctor. But here's the thing, he always maintained a really high savings rate. And because of that, one day, he could just stop. He quit that job on his own terms and moved on to what was next for him. That freedom, that's the real prize.
Okay, so if independence is the destination, what's the engine that's going to get you there? Well, for them, it all came down to one simple but incredibly powerful habit.
This is the secret sauce right here. The author and his family made a conscious decision to stop moving the goalposts on their lifestyle. So even as their income went up over the years, their spending kind of just stayed the same. And what that meant was that every single raise went directly into what they called their independence fund.
This approach has these incredible psychological benefits. When you stop trying to keep up with your neighbors, a whole lot of financial stress just evaporates. Your happiness starts coming from things that don't cost a lot of money, like walks or reading. And you create this huge gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap, that buffer, that's the real source of your financial power. Okay, now we're getting to the juicy part. Because to protect that goal of independence, the author made some choices that, honestly, on paper, look completely wrong. I mean, these are choices that would make a purely rational financial advisor just scream. He openly calls this the worst financial decision they ever made. From a pure by-the-numbers perspective, yeah, it was a mistake. But as we're about to see, it was also the absolute best decision for them. So what was the decision? They paid off their mortgage completely. Now, rationally, this makes almost no sense. They had a low interest rate. You're supposed to keep that cheap debt and invest your extra money in the stock market to get a higher return. But the reasonable choice for them, the human choice, was to own their home free and clear, to just wipe that debt off the board forever. And here is the payoff. The feeling of independence they got, just knowing that their home was theirs, no matter what happened with the economy or their jobs, that feeling was worth so much more to them than any potential gains they might have missed out on. They picked the psychological return over the financial one.
All right, confession number 2. The author keeps about 20% of his family's assets, not counting their house, in cash. Just cash. That's a huge number that just flies in the face of everything you hear about inflation eating away at your savings.
So let's look at this again. Rational versus reasonable. The rational move is to get that cash invested, right? Don't let it just sit there losing value. But the reasonable perspective is that cash is like oxygen for independence. It guarantees that you will never be forced to sell your stocks during a market crash just to cover some surprise bill.
So you see, that cash isn't just sitting there being lazy. It's working. It's an insurance policy. It's the bodyguard that protects their real wealth-building engine, their investments, and lets the magic of compounding do its thing uninterrupted for decades.
So if he's not paying off his mortgage to chase a return and he's holding tons of cash, how does he actually invest? You might be expecting some super complicated high-level strategy, but the truth is actually the complete opposite.
I mean, look at how simple this is. Their entire net worth basically breaks down into three things: their paid-off house, that big pile of cash in their checking account, and a portfolio of simple, low-cost Vanguard index funds. That's it. No complicated trades, no chasing hot stocks, none of that.
Their real strategy isn't about timing the market or picking the perfect stock. It boils down to these three things. And the key is, they are all things they can actually control. A high savings rate, patience to just let things grow over decades, and a deep, long-term optimism that, over time, the world will figure things out and create value.
So after hearing all of these confessions, what's the big takeaway for you? Well, it's not that you should go and pay off your mortgage or hold 20% of your money in cash. It's something way more profound than that.
At the end of the day, the ultimate goal of money, the true mastery of personal finance, isn't about squeezing every last dollar of return out of your portfolio. It's about arranging your finances in a way that lets you sleep well at night. And whatever that means for you, that's the right answer.
And that brings us to the most important point of all. No one is crazy. The financial decisions you make are based on your own unique life experiences, your own goals, your own fears. They make sense to you, in your world, and that is the only thing that really truly matters.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Just forget the spreadsheets and all the expert advice for a minute. What does sleeping well at night actually mean for your finances? Answering that question for yourself, well, that's the first step toward real financial independence.